Support provided by Walters, Papillon, Thomas Cullins, LLC, specializing in business litigation and personal injury cases for over 40 years.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Richard, for that kind introduction, for allowing me to come back home to do work that I love in the state that I love, to your Rotary president, and to all of the friends that I see in this room and future friends that I see in this room. It is an honor to be here today to address you and to share a bit about my passion for higher education in this state. I have to thank my staff for being here and for their amazing work, and have to take a point of personal privilege to thank my U-High family. They have done an amazing job with my daughter. She is in her final week of high school at U-High, and so thank you to my U-High family for, it took a village, I can assure you. Well, she's gonna cross that stage, so thank you very much. You know, when I think about the work that we have the opportunity to do, I'm so committed to education. We know that education is transformational for families. It is skill building at its best. It's community and economic development building for all of us. And we know that it changes lives. We know that from our own personal experiences. We know that from the experiences of our loved ones. And so it is certainly an honor to have the opportunity to work in this space. I have one board member here, Felix Weil. Thank you so much, Regent Weil, for being here, he and his wife. And we appreciate the amazing leadership of the Board of Regents, people who volunteer their time, their talent, and their energy to try to help us to set a strong vision for talent development in Louisiana. Because as I mentioned, education opens doors, it strengthens families, it improves communities. We see that every day in the cheers at commencement, and we see it every day when we see individuals, young or young at heart, who have the opportunity to take that life-changing degree and apply for amazing jobs and to do amazing things. Not just to fill great jobs, but to create great jobs in Louisiana. So we want to continue to do that work. But the question is, how do we ensure that opportunity exists for every citizen in our state? How do we ensure that education for all is not just a great saying, but a great reality in Louisiana? And how do we make sure that we're promoting honor in all pathways, so that students who pursue an industry-based certification or associate degree or a bachelor's degree or more understand that their time and talent is important, that their state needs them, that we are looking forward to the amazing things that they will do. That is the work that we have the honor of doing each and every day at the Board of Regents. To achieve that work, we know that education in our state must be affordable and accessible and equitable and attainable for more individuals. Because if you can't afford it, you can't achieve it. If you can't dream big, if you don't understand the arc of the opportunity, then perhaps your self-talk will be, education is not for me. I'm just not smart enough. I'm first in my family, and I don't believe that I can go there. So I recognize that our job is not just to set an amazing vision, as Mr. Richard mentioned, but it is to erase the belief gap in our state, to make sure that students understand that we know that they can do it, that we're rooting for them, and that they have to pursue more than their high school diploma. Because today the high school diploma is the floor, not the ceiling. It will not take you into your first job or your first opportunity, as it would have done decades ago. And so we have to send that clear message in our state that education is important, that it's worth it. We know that the learning process, this idea of earning and learning, has evolved in America and certainly in Louisiana. You understand it. I know so many of you are business leaders. You know the value of the credential. You understand the premium on skills and the expectations of the world of work. It is our reality today in a world of automation and artificial intelligence. I tell my staff all the time, when we think about this work and the urgency of this work, we can not just read articles. We can step into any store now and we think about what's happened in these businesses. If you go to a Home Depot or a Walmart, even a McDonald's, I always think, where are the workers, right? It's automated now. You self-checkout, all these things. And so what happens to the individuals who did those jobs before? So we have a responsibility to make sure that people are upskilling, that they have an opportunity to continue to contribute to our great economy. And so that's work that we look forward to doing. So I thank you for the opportunity to come to briefly talk about our talent development plan, to share some of the observations that we've had around opportunities and challenges, and of course to ask for your help. Because there are this many people in the room, then I know that great things can happen, and so I want to make sure that I put on the table some items for your consideration. First, I will say that I don't think there's anything that's more important to our state than the development of the talent of our individuals. We know that a strong economy demands it, and the workforce demands it, and the currency of today and tomorrow is the skill and the competency. So we have work to do to continue to do that. As Mr. Richard mentioned, we are a policy and advocacy board, the Board of Regents. Currently in Louisiana, we educate over 200,000 students in our public colleges and universities. We graduate about 40,000 students a year. By the way, K-12 in Louisiana graduates about 40,000 students a year. And so we have big numbers, but we need even bigger numbers, even more talent to develop. And so I know that many of you have heard the saying that if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And maybe some of you have heard the saying that a goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. And we see a little bit of all of that at the Board of Regents. Our board set a new vision for talent development in Louisiana. We set a big goal to double the number of credentials in Louisiana by 2030. The number was not pulled out of the sky. We looked and analyzed what we think will be the talent development needs of Louisiana. We talked to the Georgetown Center and others, and their estimates are that that will be the number we need, amount of talent that we will need, given the fact that that's a significant number of jobs that will require a credential post-high school. So we believe that we need to double the number of credentials, a big number, an audacious goal, something that excites us and challenges us for sure. But that's what we need by 2030 in Louisiana. So we have to rise to the occasion because we know failure is not an option when it comes to talent development. We have too many people in poverty, not enough opportunity. We have to make sure that we're working each and every day, working on behalf of students in rural and urban centers, working on behalf of students whose parents may be college educated or whose parents may not even be present. We have to work each and every day to make sure that our students, young and young at heart, have the opportunity to reach their unlimited potential because all of us in this room know the power of education and what education can do. So we've been reading and analyzing and thinking about how to get there, how to reach that goal. We also see urgency in that work, and I'm sure some of you do as well. As business leaders, as educators, as community leaders, you too know what happens when people reach that credential and what happens when people do not. And so if you're a business leader who's facing a workforce shortage, you're concerned that we get to that goal. If you are importing specialized talent because you can't find it in Louisiana, you want to make sure we get there. If you are facing a retirement of a full swath of your expertise, of your middle managers or upper managers, you want to make sure there's some talent that's coming to replace them. And so we have work to do to grow our talent in Louisiana. We have to be urgent in this work, not just because the knowledge economy demands it, but because who we have is who we're going to have. 96% of Louisiana's workforce is made up of Louisiana residents. So if we want a better state, we have to invest in our people. And when we invest in our people, we will have a better state. And so we're excited about this work. But we know that there's a heavy lift, and it will take a big tent of individuals working across political lines and working across all of the various sectors of our state to get this work done. And we believe that we can do it. In 10 months on the job, I've had the opportunity to visit every campus, every public campus in our state, walk campuses, talk with students, meet faculty, talk with administrators, and understand what's happening on our campus. We also have analyzed sort of the last 20 years of what's happened in higher education, because you know any road will take you there if you don't know where you're going. So you have to do a forward review, and you have to look back to say, how did we do? What has happened? When we look back 20 years, 20 short years, we think about the fact that in 20 years, Louisiana created a community and technical college system, a system that's very young. When we look back, we know that we've moved from open admissions requirements to admissions requirements in our state. We've improved education and completion for all students, as well as subpopulations of adults and Pell students and African American students as well. Top scholarships were introduced in 1998 in that 20-year review. The GO Grant, the state's need-based aid program, was introduced within that time. And we've also weathered storms. One of the largest disinvestments in higher education in America, we had to weather that. And yet higher education kept moving forward. We weathered Hurricane Katrina and Rita and so much more. So we see in a 20-year analysis resilience. We see success and we see opportunity to do even more. But we also look to see what will it take to really get to that goal. 3 challenges come to mind. First, we have an access and success challenge. When you look at the traditional high school population, not enough students coming to college, not enough students finishing what they start who are in college, not enough college going to kids. So in this legislative session, we'll be talking about dual and concurrent enrollment because we do believe that the high school experience should be an extension of the public post-secondary experience. So that means more students, like my daughter, should have an opportunity to be dual enrolled in college while they are in high school. We see challenge number 2, significant equity gaps. When you look at the educational attainment of white citizens in Louisiana versus African Americans, the gaps are stark. And we know that when we don't have all of the talent on the table, all of the talent on the field, then we can't reach our unlimited goals. So we have to erase those gaps because we know that with race and poverty, there is significant challenge when it comes to educational attainment. So we need to do more. We need to think about structural redesign that allows us to make sure that we are erasing equity gaps in Louisiana and that we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion as an asset in our great state because we know that it is. Finally, we have to look at our adult talent gap. In our state, in our amazing state, almost half of our working population, over 1 million adults, have a high school diploma or less as their highest credential at a time when you need much more. And so how do we address those individuals, that million-plus individuals who need more because they're either underemployed, undereducated, but we know they should not be counted out in terms of participating in this knowledge economy. So those are the challenges that we must address. And we know that we can do it. We can do it with the power of our research institutions, as I sit in Baton Rouge today. The power of our research institutions to create great jobs. I know that the head of Pennington is here, so I know that we can do it because we can address billion-dollar health disparity issues of obesity and diabetes. I know that we can do it when we harness the power of our research institutions. We can do it when we harness our community colleges and our technical colleges. They're of and for the community. They're nimble, they're responsive, they focus on business and education and business and industry needs. We can do it when we harness our rural institutions and our regional institutions that are the education and cultural anchor points of their communities. We can do it with our HBCUs that have a legacy of opening doors of opportunity and have so much more to give. And certainly we can do it with our private colleges and universities that are standing with us committed to this work. When the entire higher education ecosystem comes together, we know that great things can happen for Louisiana. But it takes more than higher education to do it. It takes all of you. And your engagement, your involvement, your questions, your participation, all of that is important to our work. So when we think about our big vision, we know that we have to think about talent differently, and we have to think about talent development differently. So as I mentioned, in 10 months, I get to travel around the state, and I see talent in every nook and cranny of Louisiana. Talent yet to be fully developed. High school students are in college already, high school students who want to go to college. I meet veterans at veteran centers who are trying to understand their GI Bill opportunities and trying to navigate their path forward. I meet single parents who are trying to balance the expense of childcare with the understanding that they really do need an additional degree. I meet foster youth who've had to navigate unbelievable family situations, but they're present and they know that degree will make a difference. I meet individuals who are in correctional facilities, men and women, who understand that to come back into this community, they need more than what they left with. And so they too are pursuing that credential, welding certificates, associate degrees, their HiSET, their GED. Talent has to be viewed in a broad brush in our state to move our state forward. And talent development has to look differently. We can't be in silos, K-12, then higher ed, then business and industry. We have to have a blended model. We have to blur lines. We have to make sure that our students are in high school or college and career ready because they have a college and career experience, a deep one, in high school. And if you're adults and you want to come back, we have to make sure that you're welcome and that you have an opportunity that you can afford, that you can achieve, that you have a path to go. Because pathways are critical for students as well. We have to make sure that we push against the status quo, that we think differently, that we innovate, that we educate, and that we collaborate. Those are the pillars of our visioning document. To double the numbers, we have to do all of that, and we have to do it well. You may have heard the legislature is in session. You have at your document, at your table, a summary of our highlights of our agenda. And on the back, of course, our legislative package, because I want to make sure everyone in the room understands what we are trying to pursue. We wanted to make sure that our visioning document, our budget, and our legislative package, our budget request and our legislative package are totally aligned so that we can ensure that we are doing good work and we are accelerating the vision of what we want to do. But we can't do it without you. Our students need more champions. Our institutions need more advocates. Our state needs more talent. And so that is the assignment before us today. So we know we have to collaborate in new and effective ways. As Richard mentioned, I am home from Colorado, having led higher education for the state of Colorado. And people always ask, and when you're in Colorado, people are fascinated with Louisiana and our politics and our food and our football, and they want to know about all that. And when you come home to Louisiana from Colorado, people want to know about Colorado. The mountains and the marijuana how does all that work, right? And what's it like to truly live and work in a purple state where 1/3 of the population is independent, a third Democrat, a third Republican? And so it is interesting to sort of reflect on the tale of these two states. Colorado with one of the highest educational attainment levels in the nation, but significant equity gaps and homegrown talent that needs to be supported. Louisiana with one of the lowest educational attainments in the nation, but homegrown talent that needs to be supported. A state like Colorado where talent comes, it's a talent magnet, lots of people moving in with their multiple degrees. Louisiana, a state where we are working diligently to diversify our economy so that more people have opportunity to come into our state, but also to work within our state. But one of the things that I always talk about is sort of this entrepreneurial spirit in Colorado. People are always talking about starting jobs or being in jobs or just creating a new job or working on an idea for a new job. And there is deep collaboration there as well. And so for the business community, I share a couple of points as I see Adam Knapp over there, who I'm going to be visiting with tomorrow about some of these ideas from Colorado. Just some food for thought about the business culture and the business engagement there, because business makes a difference. We need you engaged and at the center of this work. So 3 points about Colorado business that I would share. Colorado Succeeds is an organization, a business organization statewide focused on education reform. They put together a legislative agenda, they lobby and pass the agenda, they support and celebrate teachers, they do amazing work, K-12 and higher ed together. Quarterly Forum, a group of business leaders, again, from across the state. They place top CEOs and middle managers in government so that we, from government's perspective, can learn from them and they can learn from us. And their businesses can consider doing a stint in public service because we think that's important. They also fundraise and they do a pitch competition for the community colleges across Colorado to support their ideas. Whatever they want to do, whether it's a theme around student success or entrepreneurship, they put it on, the campuses compete, and they do amazing work. And then finally, Colorado, CareerWise Colorado, a group of business leaders who have put together and are trying to scale a white-collar youth apprenticeship program. Several hundred students participating now, but they'd like to scale to 10,000 students. And it's businesses like Home Advisor and Pinnacle Insurance and Coors and banks that are engaged in this work. I had an opportunity in Colorado to have an apprentice in my office. Most of the apprentices are in the businesses, but it's white-collar apprentice. It's not your grandfather's apprentice program. So the students are in finance and advanced manufacturing and IT and healthcare. So my apprentice, 16 years old, Lauren Bracken, a rock star, went to high school 3 days a week, worked with us 2 days a week, signed a 3-year contract, made $10,000 a year training wage, and will graduate high school with a credential. Now that is the future of knowledge transfer in America, and we should not be at the tail end of doing that in Louisiana. We want to make sure that more people are getting the college and career experience early on. And so we had a lot of work to do to be a part of getting that done in Colorado. Big changes were required. First, you need businesses to be at the center of the work because it was competency-based, but businesses had to buy in. They had to understand a longer return on investment to put in their time and their money to host high school students, to have learning objectives for them and mentors for them. And the businesses have all said, you know, I was reluctant, but we learned more from the students, or as much as they learned from us. And they're blowing it out in terms of their learning objectives and doing great work. So business had to buy in. We had to have business at the table, at the center of the work. Change had to occur in high schools. Can you imagine high schools having to get students everything they need in 3 days instead of 5 days? Everything they need to meet all of their learning objectives. Colleges had to buy in because students who appear at a college or university after participating, we need to make sure that we recognize that credential. So colleges had to participate as well. And then of course we had to push against the stigma that this was for those kids or those families as an alternative track, as opposed to a quality opportunity for individuals who want to learn more, who want to network early, who want to try something different. And so we had work to do in that as well. So I appreciate that Colorado took this on, that they went to the most affluent school districts and the most challenging school districts to say, let's be a part of something different and something new, and took that entrepreneurial spirit to move that work forward. And so I am excited that tomorrow Senator Appel will be leading our work-based learning resolution, our legislation, to try to begin to set a framework to do something like that here in Louisiana. We need apprenticeships and co-ops and internships. We have to think about knowledge transfer differently. And so it's our responsibility to not admire the problem, but to try to find the solution. And so we're looking forward to that work, and I encourage you to learn more and to participate. The bill number is on, all of the bill numbers are on the sheet, and hopefully that one is there as well. And so this is the work that we have the opportunity to do. We bring our best work, our best A game every day to this job because we're passionate about this work. It's not employment, it is a calling. We love this work and we love the opportunity to advocate for talent development in Louisiana. Some of you have heard me say that education is in my blood. It's part of my DNA. I was blessed to won the parent lottery, blessed to be born into a family of educators. I'm an LSU graduate, as Richard mentioned, but I'm mindful of the fact that I graduated from an institution where my grandparents could not enroll because African Americans could not be there. And so we carry the torch, and we carry the torch of knowledge, and we try to advance good work and move our state forward because we are able to do this work. And so Louisiana prospers when we get this right. We don't just care about this work because we want one more kid to graduate. We want to make sure we get this right because we want lots more students to graduate, and that when they do, Louisiana gets better as well. And so that's our work. That's our vision. That's what we're called to do. And when we do it right, we have this wow factor. As I mentioned, I visited campuses. And I visited students, and I asked students all the time, tell me about your challenge and tell me about your joy. And I had a student at North Shore Technical College talk to me about her joy. She said, I have to tell you, Dr. Reed, I'm a single parent, and I've had lots of challenges, and so many times I thought, I'm giving up. I just can't do it. I can't balance my time. I don't have enough money. There's not enough support. I just can't do it. But someone kept saying to me, you can do it. Whether it was a parent or a faculty member or a religious leader who just kept nudging the student along. And when I spoke to her, she was days from her graduation. And she said, I got up this morning and looked at the mirror and I said, wow, wow. Here I am when I thought I could not do it, and now I'm able to share my story with you. And as a result, my child will have an opportunity because I'm able to reach that opportunity. The wow factor we see each and every day. I see it last Friday when I attended a commencement and heard from the salutatorian who said to the group of individuals before us, prison has changed my life. I started crime to pay bills, and then to pay for drugs, and then I was arrested. Estranged from my family and my 2 children who deserved a better mom, but here I am as a graduate today. And when I looked in the audience on the front row, right where Jim was sitting, there was her 9-year-old son beaming with pride and her mother crying big tears. Both of them were celebrating their birthday that day. Now that's a wow moment, because that individual will come back, Jennifer, stronger and better because education will change her life. I'm wowed by the students who are in robotics classes, the students who are interested in entrepreneurship, the students who want to be doctors and scientists and teachers because we need more great educators. I'm wowed by the people of our great state who are committed to the work that we have to do, who understand that there is so much more that can be done, and who are resilient and proud and focused each and every day. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to come before you, to ask for your support and your help as we move this agenda forward, to make sure that Louisiana prospers because we did our very best each and every day. And when we do, we too can look in the mirror and say, wow, thank you very much.
We have a few minutes if anyone would like to ask some questions.
Hi.
I work in the IT sector, and I was wondering, how is the Board of Regents involved in helping kind of build the path for the IBMs, the CGIs, the Proficients? Because there's definitely, I think, a gap from a vision for the students thinking they're able to do it, much less the preparedness.
Thank you so much. Her question was about the IT sector and what the Board of Regents is doing to try to support. We certainly are very focused in trying to do all that we can to support the IT sector and to grow our IT sector in Louisiana. We hear from business and industry, DXC, IBM, about what they need in terms of pathways, and we're working on that. I think 2 months ago, Meg, we approved an undergraduate certificate because business and industry said specifically to us, we want to make sure we have an undergraduate certificate at the 4-year institution level as we do at the 2-year institution level to address some of the competencies that we want to make sure students have. So we want to make sure we're responsive, we're listening to business and industry when they identify gaps in the degree offerings, in the pathways. We want to make sure that we are responsive. And so if you have other thoughts or ideas, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Oh, yes.
Tell more, but no marijuana questions.
No marijuana questions, he said.
Pose my supply.
I'm not listening. I'm not listening. I'm not listening.
When you talk about the Board of Regents overseeing these four entities, could you help me understand kind of the leverage that the Board of Regents has to influence? Because all these individual entities have their own supervision stuff.
Sure.
So how do you know they're going to listen to you and do what you're proposing here?
Well, we work collaboratively. We push with a smile. We try to make sure we have good data to make the points, and we engage the management boards and the leadership in the work. This is not a top-down vision for the state. It's not a public post-secondary vision. It has to be a statewide vision. And so I do have good, strong relationships with the system presidents. We meet with all of the boards, the board chairs. We talk with them about this work. I have had a chance to present to both House and Senate Education about the master plan and the work that we're trying to do. So we're collaborative, but we do recognize that we have to improve. And so it is our job to not just say things are going well, but to call the question when we see things are not going well. And to provide good data and information, not as a gotcha exercise, but as a continuous improvement exercise to say, how can we do better and how can we be an active partner in that work?
Dr. Reed, could you explain a little bit more about the legislative agenda for the proprietary and nonprofit schools, particularly the consumer protection aspect of that?
Sure. So we have a pretty outdated law, and we work with the proprietary schools and our staff to try to make sure that we brought it up to date in terms of information. The specific consumer protection, one point I will make about that, and I can follow up with you on others. Virginia College closed in Baton Rouge several months ago. And the students at Virginia College, as you may have seen on the news, had met, a number of students, hundreds, had met their requirements for their credential. But when the parent organization closed, they said to the students by email, no commencement. So the community put on a commencement for the students. Another community college stepped in to present the degrees. We all participated as well. And so we're basically saying in the law that if you promote something, if you promised something to the students and they meet the requirements, then it's on you to make sure you do what you said you would do for the students. So we want to make sure in that particular instance, they said they would do a commencement, the students had paid their fees, they did all that they needed to do, and then the college closed. So that's one example on consumer protection that I can cite off the top of my head. It is a long bill and a lot of updates, but I'm happy to get more details to you.
Support provided by Walters, Papillon, Thomas Cullens, LLC, specializing in business litigation and personal injury cases for over 40 years.